Ukraine needs support in a different level for ammunition, for weapons, and Ukrainian people who need to leave country need to be supported too. And this is a lot of examples I have here in UK, and I'm very proud of British society.
Speculation about the position of the Russian President Vladimir Putin has gone into overdrive since his commander in Ukraine, General Sergei Shorovkin, admitted on state TV that it was no longer possible to keep supplying the city and was ordered by the defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, to begin this withdrawal. It's also been confirmed that Mr. Putin will not attend the G20 summit in Bali, allegedly, according to some, fearing an assassination attempt. Well, the Russian president's demise had been long predicted by critics overseas, and one of his fiercest critics is Marina Litvinenko, the author of Death of a Dissident, which she wrote in memory of her husband Alexander, who was poisoned by Russian agents in 2006. She's on the line. Marina Litvinenko, good evening to you.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. What's your reaction to what you're hearing from Ukraine?
I'm constantly in the news. I'm definitely know for what happened for last day, and it's a lot of discussion how it might affect is a future story when Kherson became freedom from Russian army. And it's a very good news from one side, but you need to be very careful because even Russian saying they might go out from the city, but it's not so simple. I'm not a military expert. I only have experience how to be with this Russian power against people, against human. And what important message from my experience, and don't trust them. And what I heard yesterday from Ukrainian authorities on YouTube channels, on the news, they've been the same position. Don't be in euphoria immediately, because you never know what Russian might do at the end. Even they said, we decide to save our soldiers, we decide to save the lives of these people, but you never know what they're going to do. This is my first message, what is very important. But another message to the West, you have to understand, Ukrainians will fight to the end. They never give up, and they're never going to be tired to fight for their own country. And you should not be tired too. I know it's always discussions how the West society is happier, the war will be finished soon. And these negotiations is very important. Of course, it's very important, but negotiations, I mean, peaceful about peace might start only in the position of Ukrainian government, not for what Russians say. And when Ukrainian government decide we are ready for this negotiation and everything what they said already, it need to be first. And this is very important to understand. And third point, what I would like to raise, Ukraine needs support in a different level for ammunition, for weapons, and Ukrainian people who need to leave country need to be supported too. And this is a lot of examples I have here in UK, and I'm very proud of British society, how people who helping Ukrainian families who need to get out from their own country.
And no, the people in this country really have stepped up and helped through Homes for Ukraine and other programs.
Absolutely.
But you do allude to concern about the appetite of people in the West, and particularly in the United States, to continue supporting Ukraine. How relieved are you by the news from the United States that there is still a balance between the President, Joe Biden, who's been very supportive of Ukraine, the Senate, which at the moment we don't know what will happen finally, and then the House of Representatives, where although the Republicans may take overall control, they perhaps don't have enough to block the funding to Ukraine?
Of course, it's quite disappointing, but I believe over human part of even politicians. Every time when this discussion in a level of political reasons or when we're talking, we need to more concentrate about internal politics and less thinking what is happening outside of the country. I think at that time we need to talk more about humanity. And when we see a lot of documentaries, a lot of evidence for what happened to people, for civilian people, for families, for children, it need to be shown. And I think it's obvious when people understand what happened during this war, when we see this humanitarian crisis, absolutely unbelievable. I would like to remind you for what happened in 2000 when United States decided not to support Chechen people in their fight against Russia state because President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, sure is this fight against of terrorism. But what happened at the end? 30,000 children were killed during this war. And it obviously was a war against a people. And it's the same. We can talk about of how it's important or not important to give weapons or supply new weapons. It's important, but we need to talk about what happened to Ukrainian people, because this war Putin started to just destroy Ukrainian country, a state, and killed people. And if we talked about this more, maybe one day people understand we can't stop to help these people to fight for their own country, for their own life, for future of their children.